Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So first I would like to comment a little bit about the sequence of what Kasyapa Muni is instructing to his wife. First of all, this whole incident happened because even being so qualified, Kardama Muni, one may question, why does a person so qualified like Kardama Muni fall victim to such a mundane aspect of being just very pleased with his wife offering any benediction, and then fulfilling that benediction which is against the laws of Dharma. Also, why is Arjuna bewildered? Why is Parikshit Maharaj bewildered? These are all instructions. Of course, Kardama Muni, his bhakti is mixed with jnana, and also some partial bhakti for Lord Shiva. Therefore, it's not pure Krishna bhakti. But in any case, he had such great intelligence. Nimai Pandit, he was purposely very proud of his intelligence to show us how dangerous intelligence can be. If it is not purified intelligence, adami buddhi yogam tam, purified intelligence, tesham satati yuktanam pachitam priti purvakam. Purified intelligence is that intelligence which is given by Krishna. It doesn't come from anywhere else. It doesn't come from learning. It doesn't come from cerebral exercises. It doesn't come from anything except Krishna. And Krishna gives that intelligence when we worship Him constantly. Satata. We're constantly yuktanam. We're constantly linked with Krishna through devotional service. Priti purvakam. Not just any link, but a link in loving devotion. Then Krishna gives intelligence. Real intelligence. Real intelligence is a product of bhakti. It's not simply jnana. Jnana also comes from bhakti. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Vanyat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Hitukam. All intelligence, all knowledge, all austerity, everything comes from bhakti. Meaning, yes, there is a knowledge and austerity that doesn't come from bhakti. But in one sense, it comes from bhakti, just not Krishna bhakti. It comes from tapa bhakti, being very dedicated. And therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, we have to practice this process of Krishna consciousness, of bhakti yoga, very carefully, and chetasa nanyagamina, and make sure that our consciousness never deviates for one moment from Paramapurusha, Divyam, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Jatiparta Anuchintayan, and it has to be constant. And anuchintaya, this consciousness doesn't come from some learning process. It's anuchinta. It's consciousness that is received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His representative. So he appeared to be very bewildered, but he's teaching us how dangerous it is. Pumsastriya mituni bhava metam. Tayor mito hridaya granti sahur. Lord Rishabhadev warns us the danger of the union of man and woman, even if one is so qualified as Kasyapa Muni. Because, and the nature of women is also revealed in this pastime. Diti, such a qualified personality. But the reason Srila Prabhupada would sometimes call women less intelligent doesn't mean they're lacking intellectual ability. It means that their intellectual ability is sometimes covered by emotion. And we can see that very clearly here. Diti, wants to kill Indra. She actually wants to kill Vishnu, but she knows she can't do that. She knows she can't do it, and she knows that would be very, but she knows Vishnu did it, but she's so bewildered by Maya that she's thinking that Indra, somehow or another, Indra can influence Krishna. Just like sometimes people think that some sannyasis, there's a group of people, especially in the West, that think some sannyasis bewildered Prabhupada. Otherwise, he would have treated women the same as men. He did. He treated them better than men because he told them to be protected. Just like in this verse that we read, it says she should be nicely decorated because women are so respected in Vedic culture that just like, who do we decorate? We decorate the deity? No, because the deity is worshipable. So the mother, the image of the mother, which is there in the female form. There's also the bewildering form of Maya, but also there's the motherly form, and that is what we worship in Vedic culture. Some people speculate, no, Srila Prabhupada was influenced by the hardcore sannyasis, and therefore he didn't properly present the women in the way that modern society has realized that it should be. So everyone can be bewildered, thinking that Indra has some influence over Krishna. Krishna 2 times had to punish Indra. He's so attached, which is another lesson, so attached to his position. Just like today, we have our North India divisional meeting. And the main thing we should learn, we're all servants. We're having this meeting to be servants, not to be controllers, not to be Ishwaras, but to be servants. How will we serve everyone? So Indra is so attached that even after such a strong chastisement, after he was chastised by by Krishna's arrangement, he was afraid to approach Krishna. And he approached Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma said, I can't do anything. Better to go to Surabhi. Krishna loves the cows, as we're discussing in this verse. And therefore, Krishna, if you bring a cow, if you bring your elephant, Krishna likes elephants, but he loves cows. And so, if you bring a cow, and so even then he was reluctant. And he was wandering on Govardhan Hill, thinking, what will I do? And some cowherds boys saw him. And they went and they told Krishna, well, there's a big personality with a big crown and jewels, because they weren't thinking Indra, just they saw some nicely decorated person. No. Can we go see him? Krishna said, no, he's not very important. And so, anyway, the point is that she wanted to kill Indra. And therefore, in the first verse, where Kasyap's, because he is intelligent, he realizes he made a mistake. And the first thing he says in verse 47, Nahim shat bhutajatani. One should not commit violence against any living entity. Shiradapartasati. So his first instruction, you can't kill Indra. First instruction. But she didn't. She was so bewildered by her hatred, by her attachment to her sons that she thought, yes, she didn't even realize that he told her, you can't do what you're asking. No, you follow. He said, you follow this vow strictly. And he said, this is a Vaishnava vow. First there were 7 prohibitions, then 8 prohibitions. No. Because Vaishnava vows, they start like that. You have to learn what not to do. No. Otherwise you'll learn what to do in the wrong way. So, but this is all external. Everything that he's instructing here, practically speaking, is all external considerations for a Vaishnava. They're all external. The internal considerations for a Vaishnava, that's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us in the Shikshastika. The first thing you do, you always glorify Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said one time that first, when you're preaching, first you help people develop an attachment, a happiness in chanting the holy name. Then you can give them the rules and regulations. If you give rules and regulations before they have some joy and happiness in chanting, then they'll just go away. No. Or they'll look for something else. Therefore Narada Muni instructed Vyasadeva, especially in Kali Yuga, people don't care too much for prohibitions. No. You have to attract them to Krishna. And therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us this beautiful Shikshastika. To understand the internal mood, this has to govern the external mood. Just like we have Vedic culture. Vedic culture has many rules and regulations. And we follow the ones that support our Vaishnava culture. We're not practicing Vedic culture, we're practicing Vaishnava culture. And all the elements of Vedic culture that support Vaishnava culture, then we include them. No, but we're not attached to them. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhava Arjuna. Krishna says that you even have to be a little careful with the Vedas. They're mostly speaking about how to navigate the modes of nature. So be careful. Don't be bewildered by the Vedas. Understand that Vedaischa Sayavayarahame Bhavedyo. Understand the Vedas are meant to come to Krishna. And if that is the purpose, then whatever Vedic knowledge and whatever Vedic processes support Vaishnava Dharma, that's what we do. We accept all those things. So, just like nowadays in India, there are many remnants of Vedic culture. There are many remnants, some little remnants of Vaishnava culture in general society. So, people have very strong traditions. And those traditions are good. Tradition is good to keep one pious. But traditions can also hinder one's progress in bhakti, because one becomes so accustomed to a certain cultural aspect. Just like in the West, they're attached to adharmic cultural aspects, which Srila Prabhupada mentions here in the purport. He says that they eat the flesh of cows. In one place, Srila Prabhupada said that for the lack of Vedic culture, people are killing the cows and killing the children. So this is a perfect definition of USA. They kill cows like anything, and there's always fighting. There's always a group fighting. Let's kill the children too. Abortion. No, it should be free. If they want it, they take it. Even I had some devotees ask me, should we? I was amazed that they asked me this. If we have a child and we're not ready to support it, is it okay if we have an abortion? Hare Krishna. No. One devotee wrote to me the other day and said he was complaining about one of our GBCs because he said you should be married before you get initiated. Two people that are together. First you get married. And the devotee said, this is not good. No, he said, because they may have to get divorced, and divorce is very expensive. No. I said, Hare Krishna. No. What is happening here? No. No. So let us not do what Prabhupada said. let us accept modern culture, or modern anti-culture. And this is a big problem. Any of you who are parents, have children, you will discover as soon as your children start getting absorbed in social media, then all kinds of everything that we shouldn't do will be promoted. Everything that Srila Prabhupada said was not conducive to spiritual. I mean, there are some social media devotees preaching. That's good. But the unfortunate thing about technology, usually it's about 10% good and 90% destructive. And so, just like Prabhupada was flying once, USA, over California, which has a lot of deserts, and he saw some lines on the ground. He said, "What is that?" He said, "Oh, Prabhupada, those are irrigation canals for growing food." Prabhupada said, "This is proper use of technology. Grow food. Use it for something that supports human society." Of course, if they wouldn't exploit the forests, then there wouldn't be so many deserts. But this is another problem. But anyway, at least once they've done their destruction, let us use technology to try to undo it. But the best way to undo it is right here in this purport. So my first point was that Kasyapa Muni made a mistake, but he corrected it. Devotees will make mistakes. Srila Prabhupada said one time, maybe more than one time in London, he said, one devotee said, "Srila Prabhupada, I made a mistake." And Srila Prabhupada said, that is normal, that is expected. But what is necessary is that you correct it. So, if we make a mistake, like a big mistake, Kasyapa Muni, surrendering to the material desires of his wife, but he corrected it immediately. So if we make a mistake in Krishna consciousness, Krishna has given us the solution. Apichet sudaracharo bhajate mamananyabhak sadhur eva samantavya. If one is immediately re-established as a saintly person, then this corrects the mistake. The mistake should be forgotten. Because Srila Prabhupada said, the most important quality of a brahmana is forgiveness. So we're supposed to be in brahminical culture. This is what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. He says, without acquiring brahminical qualification and giving protection to the cows. In one place, Srila Prabhupada says that brahminical culture gives spiritual knowledge, and protecting the cows gives spiritual food. One time Srila Prabhupada was coming from the airport in USA, Pittsburgh, which is the airport you go to New Vrindavan. So Prabhupada got in the car, they were going to New Vrindavan, and devotees gave Srila Prabhupada a plate full of milk sweets from the cows. And usually Prabhupada would take a little sample, but he ate almost all the sweets. Devotees are happy, Prabhupada, he must be in good health. Sometimes even the cooks, they think that good health means you ate everything. Generally, if you eat everything, you won't have such good health. Prabhupada said the yogic principle is you fill the stomach half with food, 1/4 with water, 1/4 air. Then there will be proper digestion. Generally speaking, we fill like 98% with food stuff, wash down the rest with a little water, and then suffer. Take a 3-hour rest. So anyway, so Prabhupada, he said, "This is my philosophy." Devotees didn't understand. Philosophy is to eat a plate full of sweets? No. I like that philosophy, yes. Prabhupada, I will follow this philosophy 100%. No, but Prabhupada said, this was my program. Give them ghee. That will give them intelligence. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is speaking about here, that progressive civilization progressive, instead of killing cows, men must prepare various milk products which will enhance the condition of society. What to speak of offering them to the deity? No. That's not even mentioned here because Prabhupada is preaching to the world. No. So if he said the purpose of milk is to offer it to Krishna, then people would think, well, no, the purpose of milk is to enhance society, give them intelligence. And then Prabhupada said, this was my program. Give them ghee. No. And then Prabhupada said, I made no requirements. I simply told them dance and chant. I did not require anything. You simply come, chant, dance, take prasadam. No. Prabhupada said, this was my program, isn't it? Kirtananda, he said. Kirtananda was in the car. He said, yes, Prabhupada. He said, therefore, this is how you preach Krishna consciousness. You give them prasadam and you make them chant and dance. Then they will become happy, and then you can give them all the discipline. So how important is the cow and how important is the brahmana? Srila Prabhupada said, our temples are the reason we have temples is for training brahmanas. He didn't say the temple was for so thousands of people could come and take darshan. That's secondary. The most important thing, we've trained brahmanas who can go out and purify society by their preaching and by their example. You know, and also to usher in the Varnashram. Because society, just like I see in India, without Varnashram, there is very much exploitation of the poorer class of people. Very much. But if Varnashram is there, then the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, they have to take care of the Shudras. You don't give them money. No. Now they practically don't get anything anyway. But you give them a place to live, you give them food, they have to have good food, place to live, medical care. No. The Brahmins, they dedicated to medical care. No. They studied Ayurveda, and so they gave free medical care. Not by some big system of taxation, and but the Kshatriyas made sure that the Vaishyas were not too greedy. There'll always be a little greedy. If one is really a hardcore Vaishya, they'll be greedy, but their greed would be contained by taxation. And if they didn't like the taxes, the Kshatriyas were very powerful. Not like nowadays, people avoid taxes because they see the taxes are not helping the people so much. Some to some degree, but not as they should. So Varnashram is very, very important for organizing society. Otherwise, as long as the Vaishyas are in charge, there will be a very big imbalance. When the Brahmins are in charge, of course they have to be pure Brahmanas, not like Shringi, who goes around cursing pure devotees. But pure Brahmanas. If you have pure Brahmanas guiding society, then the Vaishyas will act properly, the Kshatriyas will act properly. So generally nowadays we have dictators, uncontrolled Kshatriyas. We have capitalism, uncontrolled Vaishyas, and we have communism, uncontrolled Shudras. So, but where's the brahminical society? Therefore, it's our duty. Srila Prabhupada speaks so much about the great fortune of taking birth in India. So it's our duty here. I wasn't born here, but I understand it's your duty, and I'll participate because Krishna Prabhupada educated me a little bit. Still working on it. That we have to create this culture. ISKCON has become very prominent now in India. We have to take advantage of that and make it more and more and more prominent, but with purity. Because with prominence comes opulence. And with opulence, if there's not Nadana Janana Sundari, then everyone will become bewildered and everything will be spoiled. And therefore we must remember nirmamo nirahankara. Krishna says it twice in Bhagavad Gita. No, you don't own anything and you have to be free from false ego. No, because these are the two biggest problems when one gets some position. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the greatest danger of Maya is when we have some position, we have some ability, we preach, then people start following you and people start glorifying you. And you think, maybe they're right. No? And that's a big danger. No? And so we avoid these things. And if they're glorifying us, we're meditating in our mind, this is for Krishna, this is for Srila Prabhupada, this is for the Parampara, not for me. This doesn't belong to me. I don't stop it. I offer it to the Parampara. So, how important is the Brahman? In the 5th canto, Krishna says, I eat through the mouths of the Brahman. I accept everything through the Brahman. That's how important they are. Not the Brahmanas like the husbands of the wives who became attached to Krishna in Krishna Lila. Not those Brahmanas. But even those Brahmanas, they realized by the example of their wives, again showing how important pious women are, by their wives, they learned they were fools. And they said, we are condemned. We are condemned. We did not understand that we should worship Krishna and Balaram. But still, because they weren't pure devotees, they didn't support Krishna and Balaram because they were afraid of Kamsa. Let us continue with our mundane yagyas so Kamsa will be pleased. No. But their wives said, let us give up these useless husbands, no, and go with Krishna. Of course, I'm not advising that, ladies. Don't, please. Even if your husband is not quite up to par, help him by showing an example of your devotion to Krishna. No. So, and how important are the cows? Govinda, Gopal. No. How important. Krishna's youth is governed by cows. No. When he's 4 years old, he begins to take care of the calves. And then when he's 6 years old, he's allowed to take care of the cows. Everything is measured by the cow, no, in Krishna's life. Of course, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he accepts that because he loves the cows, as Srila Prabhupada says here. The Lord loves the cows. And he loves his devotees. He's governed by his devotees. All of his rasa is governed by the desires of his devotees and the desire of the cows. And so that's how important they are. Govardhan, the hill that we worship, the mountain. Now it's a hill. It used to be a mountain. Still a mountain for those that have transcendental vision. They can see this huge mountain. We may see something about 50 meters high. But the point is that what is it? What is that hill? Govardhana. It is there to give pleasure to the cows. That is Govardhana's greatest happiness, that Krishna and Balaram, Krishna and Rama are leaving their footprints on him and the cows are being nourished. So this is the importance of the cow. And, we see it. Just like, I've been traveling a little bit by land, and everywhere you go, there's a cow standing in the street, sleeping. No. If there's a dog in the street, the car just comes and the dog has to get out of the way. But if there's a cow in the street, everybody goes around. The traffic will be totally stopped. The other day we got in a big traffic jam. And we finally got up, and what was it? There were 2 cows laying in the middle of the road. No? A huge traffic jam. No? Nobody stopped to move the cows. In the West, they would push the cows out of the way. But everybody stopped, go around, thousands of people going late to work, whatever. No, just because of the worship of the cows. So this is our culture. This is our society. This is what we must do. And therefore Srila Prabhupada emphasizes again and again the importance of worshiping Krishna. And of course here, the Srila Prabhupada didn't speak about it in the purport, but Shriyam Achyutam. And I just wanted to mention, I understood why does Shukadeva Goswami use the word Achyuta here? Because the Supreme Lord is infallible. His plan is infallible. His arrangement is infallible. And Kasyapa is using the word to remind his wife that what Krishna did, killing your son, Achyuta, it was perfect. You should not be wanting to kill Indra. You should accept and therefore he says, you must worship very carefully Shriya, Achyuta, and the cows and the Brahmins. Otherwise, stop this nonsense of thinking that you will avenge your son. In the beginning of this chapter, and I'll conclude with this, she said that, she didn't think about the fact that her son killed so many people. That didn't matter. Someone killed my son, but my son killed millions of people, and someone killed my son. So contradictory. This is the nature of attachment. Material attachment will cloud our intelligence, and we won't see things as they are. We will see things as we want them to be. So, Hare Krishna. So I'll stop here. These are some thoughts on this verse and this purport. Any comments or questions? Haribo, microphone?
Vancha kalapatruvacha kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhu Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you very much. Maharaj, the present situation in our society, that this salary system, as you have said, that Varnashram system means to cater to the needs of society in different varnas and ashramas. But when Prabhupada straightway said, no salaries, volunteers, but it is continuing, so what should be the remedy? That is humble request.
Yeah. Well, both things have to be incorporated. That when one is practicing Shuddha Bhakti or aspiring for Shuddha Bhakti, then it's a different set. You're beyond Vaishnava. You're beyond Varnashram. But most of us are below Varnashram. Otherwise, we still have attachments. And as long as one is conditioned, just like in the beginning of the movement, Srila Prabhupada said, he actually wanted devotees to live like pure devotees. He even told the grihastas they should live in the ashram, and they could have one child. But then he saw everybody it was difficult to give up so many attachments, conditioning, and then Prabhupada started talking about Varnashram. So Varnashram takes us up to the point, just like Brahmabhuta prasanatmana shochati nakangshati. When we can give up lamentation and hankering for something in this world. Then up to that point, Varnashram is very good, even for devotees. But of course, if one is living in an ashram or living in they're living in a grihastha ashram, meaning their life is centered around the deity, they are participating regularly in the Sankirtan movement, then they don't need Varnashram. But still, we will use the elements of Varnashram as did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, he acted like a sannyasi, although he prayed to Lord Jagannath that none of these things are necessary. But still, he very faithfully carried out the duties. The six Goswamis very carefully accepted the disciplines of regulated life, the higher aspect of Daivi Varnashram. So what we want to teach the world Daivi Varnashram, where pursuit of Vishnu is the goal. And once they become convinced of that, then they can go beyond Varnashram. But even if they go beyond it, for the benefit of society, we will follow it to some degree, to give the example. So, Hare Krishna. So I'm going to stop here today because we have an important meeting and everybody has to get ready, take prasadam, etc. So thank you all very much for your kind attention. Also, I'll be leaving for some time, so I'm anxiously awaiting my opportunity to come back and get your association again. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.